How to make a parametric bench in SelfCAD. Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to review this parametric bench tutorial. At the time of recording this on top of the page, but if you don't find it you can anytime just type in parametric bench. This is marked as a beginner level, it's not very complex, but it's still using some tools we haven't used before. So I'm going to start this in the web version. This is loading and creating a new project automatically. And we're going to get started with a drawing, a basic drawing. We go 3D sketch, and we're going to draw not on this plane that we normally draw. We're actually going to choose a left and right plane. We can draw sideways. And so we're going to uncheck also the bottom plane. And then we're not going to draw in the center, which is the default. We're going to actually to offset this by -250. This is going to be the size where we're going to start drawing. And finally, we want to be able to draw straight lines. So what you're going to do is we're going to go to precision settings and set also the grid vertices so we can start drawing. Okay, with all that said, we're gonna have to check on the highlight, just follow these points. So we're gonna draw this, you see it snaps by grid vertex, all of these, so it makes it easy to follow. And we just need to click on each of them and click over here, and it's done. Okay, so we're done with the first profile. And now we're gonna go back to plane setting to make the second profile, which we want it to be just an offset of 150. So, and we want it also to be a separate profile, not the same. So we're going to uncheck this one so it starts drawing a new profile. Now, if you see over here, this looks like quite far away. I'm going to set the orthographic view. You'll see the difference in the side view actually over here. You're going to see it looks much better. We're actually making it higher, but these dots are following, the bottom lines over here are following the exact same flow. It's just that it's a little bit taller than the other one. This could have been actually done just one profile, simply scaling it up, but this was done this way. And the same thing is going to be now. We're going to set a new profile, uncheck this, and as you can see, the new profile, it's even hard to see the differences without orthographic view. You can see they look all different, but instead of doing now perspective orthographic from these drop downs, I can use my spacebar to switch it. So you can see it looks the same. It's actually the exact same size as the first profile, just further out. So instead of kind of scaling them, sketching them, and then moving them, it's just easier. Designer found it easier this way. It's probably much easier to do it this way, but it's important to note they're the same actually. Actually, I may be wrong. This is maybe smaller than this one. Okay, nevertheless, but the sizes, the bottom parts are all the same. Okay, so now we're going to select all of these three profiles, and we're going to mirror them over. So we're going to make, first of all, choose to make a copy. We want the mirror to be a copy, not simply mirroring the originals. And then we're going to choose where we want the copy to be. That should be on the right side. But if you do it on the right side, you see this plane that shows over here where it mirrors. This profile actually has now two profiles because they mirror each other and they're in the same place. So we're going to offset this by 50, which gives us the space we need. So now the plane is in the center and you have two profiles to the left and to the right of this plane. And now we're finalizing it, and we're going to select now these other profiles as well. And we're going to go to round objects. And we're going to choose the option convert to spline. And we have only smoothness as one. Now this is important here because we actually get it quite rounded, and depends on the type of profile, how it looks like. But these had sharp edges, so the idea convert to spline automatically will smooth them out automatically. So it's actually not smoothing out that much because of one is not that much. It may have smoothed it a little bit, but I think the biggest smoothness is coming from the fact that we convert them to a spline. But nevertheless, that's basically what we are. So we have selected all of these profiles already. So all we need to do now is we use the bridge tool to actually convert them to each other. So what we're going to do now here is the bridge tool has a few modes, and there's an option called linear. Linear is used for different use cases where you want to bridge between objects and you care the exact structure should stay intact, so they stay manifold. I'll explain that hopefully in a different video, but for now, when you do basic profiles, you usually don't want to have this feature. So if you turn off this feature, look, this looks a really nice smooth thing, but this has now a lot of faces. We don't need that many, so we're going to reduce the smoothness to 6, and it still looks quite nice. Okay, the other thing that is very important here is the order of operation. So you see, this was the order. You see, you have over here the order profile 1. If I hover on it, it highlights it. This is the first profile, next, and then going down the line, all of these profiles. If these are somehow flipped, the results will be different. So you can, for example, bridge between this profile and then anywhere in the center and then going back and going forward. This will make basically self-intersecting. I actually found some issue with this tutorial. I have no idea how the designer made them, the order selection. So I was trying to select these instead of manually like checking the checkboxes the way you see I selected them. I used the marquee selection to simply select all of the profiles, and the results were actually inverted, something wrong with the selection. I've actually notified the team. I think this may have been something overlooked by making the tutorial, so to protect that you must be able to select it in the order. So this will probably be fixed, but it's good to know that. Just in case you do it, you're not going to be able to do it in the tutorial itself, but just to show you that there is this concept, you can move profiles. So I can, for example, flip these profiles, and it shows it's flipping, but it's actually not. The tutorial protects them while tutorial mode. But normally you can switch the orders from these profiles. That's basically the idea. Okay, so with that said, we can finalize this, and we have this profile now. So we're going to go to colors. In SelfCAD, it's very important to give colors initially, because this is later used and it's maintained. So you see soon how this colors will be used. It saves you a lot of time to later select colors. What we're going to do now here is we're going to set a basic cube to make the cuts, and we're going to make it for the thickness of 5, and we're going to position it to size it basically to 20, and the height and depth is 250. And so this is basically positions first in the center, small thing that we can use as a knife tool kind of to cut out these pieces. And now we're going to position it. So this is just sizing it. Now we're going to position it. We're going to position it at x minus 240. Minus 240. So this basically it's over here. Now if you remember, our first drawing plane was minus 250. So if you make this 240, this means we're leaving over the space over here, some space over here. Okay, so we're going to finalize it. And now we just need to make copies around here. So the easiest way for that is copy offset, where we're going to set the x to move by 10. And we're going to make 48 copies over here to move them over. And just click copy to copy them over, and we get all of these copies. Now we need to group them all together. I can click Ctrl G. You can group them from the top menu in the edit menu, or from the combine section in the utilities. A few ways how to group it, or just as I did, Command G. Okay, so now we're going to color them again. It's important, as I said, the colors. You're going to see later why, because it maintains the colors. And we're going to select both of them and use stitch and scoop. And this is where the colors come in, because this is now going to color the entire thing. So we do this. So we let it process for a few seconds and then finalize the thing. And now you see how nice these colors are. Now if you want to color it like this odd and even colors and this sequence and color inside will be really difficult. But if you did it initially, Stitch and Scoop maintains the colors, so you got these colors. It's also very important, what I've shown in other videos, you can later go to material section and use the select by color, which is something very helpful. Okay, so now what we need to do here is, if you see we have over here, the bottom is not flat. You remember we used round objects, it convert everything to splines. What we did, it's not just round, we can use other tools for it as well, but we basically made it into splines. Everything is rounded, and we actually want to have this bench flat in the bottom and flat on this side. In some cases you may need to cut out, like use the cut with plane or different tools to cut out, but in this case the easiest way is just to flatten it. We'll just keep it manifold. There's just one challenge we have over here with these type of tools is I cannot simply type in the Y. You see it's gonna block me, I cannot type in, because this by default will be symmetrical. If I type in, it will kind of flatten it from top and bottom at the same time, symmetrical. And I want to flatten it only from one side. If I do one side, the gizmos by default will be moved. That's in all transformations, just the direction I go, unless I turn on the symmetry. But I don't want to do that. We actually want to move it just on one side. So I have to kind of be precise. I have to look at my value over here while moving it. It's a little bit difficult. I'll move it up and try to see 192.96. Now it's actually not that easy to get the exact number, it's just the tutorial snaps it to it. And this is kind of like artistic tool, you kind of look at it how it is and try to make it. The same thing we're going to do the other side. It needs to be 150, so I have to take a look at the Z axis. I cannot type it in, I have to move it using this gizmo that is highlighted. And we want 150, go close to it, and then it will kind of snap automatically, 150.02, so it's snapped in. So now you can see we have it quite nice flat on the bottom and the side, while these are still rounded. That's really nice. This could have been done actually initially also on the profiles. Somehow the designer did it now, but just something you can do in the profiles. But look at the difference from the profiles and now how much we smoothed that out. This was all rounded and now we have it all flat. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to go to 3D Sketch again, and we're going to kind of draw in these centers that holds together. Now we cut it out to all the different pieces, and for that we're going to first actually we're going to draw a circle, which is going to be used as an auxiliary, as a helper for later, as you're going to see. So, and we're going to draw it, doesn't matter really where we draw it, we're just changing the plane at the bottom, unchecking the left and right. We're going to start drawing like normal at the bottom, and what we're going to do here is we're going to draw a circle on this point. It's hard to see, and just type in a value of 2. We want a very tiny circle, and then finalize it by clicking here, and this is basically created the circle. If you zoom into it, you'll be able to see it, but it's actually quite hard to see. This basically created a very tiny circle. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to turn on the thing. I want to show, basically discuss one other thing. If you see, I continue moving around my scene always. This is just kind of like second nature. You do it subconsciously. But this is only, I use always the left key, that's how it works. This is because there's no tool now active. If I'm going to, or a tool that doesn't bother, I'm drawing it outside. So actually, once you have something active drawings, if I turn on this, I can no longer draw here. Actually, I can, because I still have something here to do. Once I'm active in drawing, now I have it active, it asks me to draw. The right key is no longer working. But you can still rotate with the left key, I'm sorry, but you can still rotate using the right key. And this is because the left key is used for drawing, so it's disabled. It switches the function from camera movement to drawing. But if you need to rotate, you just use the right key. Okay, so now we're going to draw this inside, and it's hard to draw the exact precision, so we're just going to basically draw here where we can see it, and later it's going to be adjusted. So we're drawing just half of the profile, and then we click escape to finalize it, and we're closing it. Actually, if you're closing it, you didn't need to click escape, simply close it, that will escape it automatically. But nevertheless, that's fine. And now we're going to mirror the other side to it. We make a copy, and we want to mirror it to the right side. No offset, because right now we want them to meet together, and we're closing it. And now we're going to select both of them and merge them together. Now again, I can use from here merge, I can use it from the combine tools. The tutorial wouldn't allow me, it's there, or you can use Control M to merge it together. Okay, what's important to see over here, it removed one vertex. Whenever you merge things like that, it's really important to see it remove the vertex, because otherwise that means they didn't touch. If they touch together, so each of the sides had a vertex, and now it's moved together, you do not need two vertices, they need to be merged vertices. And if you don't see this message combined together vertex, that means it's usually not aligned perfectly, and you need to use other tools to fix it. But the merged them perfectly fine, so it worked. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to flatten it a little bit, set the Z to 0. In this case, we don't really care, we just want it to be flat, so we're setting it to 0, and this is basically done. Now the Z-axis is the depth, if you see going in over here, and this is because we draw simply by just visualizing it, and we snapped onto, we didn't choose a plane here. If we should have, I mean, if we could have selected a plane here, it would have been drawn straight, but we didn't, so it snapped to different planes, it wasn't flat. So we just want to flatten it, we don't care where it's flattened, because we're going to position it later, and this is where symmetry is good actually, just flatten it, we can type in the value. And now we're going to round this also, we want this to be a little bit more smooth, so we're just going to actually round it by 1, it's not even converting to a spline. That may have been checked, changed the structure, so we're just rounding it by 1 slightly and keeping it as edges, so just to give it a slight roundness. Okay, so now we're going to position it, and we're going to position it into the Z, the depth. So right now it's from the outside, we want this to be in the center, so we're going to position the Z by negative 28. So this comes in inside, you can no longer see it actually, it's inside. And we're also going to position the X to 0. So that means it's going to be positioned at the X direction is in this direction, the length. So we want this basically to be positioned in the center of the scene. As I said, we didn't position it exactly. We measured the size exactly, so now you can see it sticks out from both sides perfectly fine. But it wasn't, the position wasn't measured perfectly, so we use this later to position, which is perfectly fine. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we need to select this profile and we're going to use follow path. So as I said before, we drew the circle as a kind of auxiliary, as a helper. This is where it comes in now. We're going to use the follow path to extrude. This circle should extrude along this path, and in this case we basically got, instead of just a line crossing through, we actually get a geometry, a mesh, which is a circular mesh, like a twisted, bended cylinder kind of going through the entire mesh. And now you can see it because you can see it from the holes that we've cut through. That's how you can see it over here. And we're going to color it. As always, it's good to color initially so we can keep track. Oops, I didn't click on the color. Okay, so now we finalize the color, and that's it. Now we're going to add a cylinder, which is we're going to do the other kind of brace going through in the bottom, and we're going to set also very thin. 2, it's the same size actually we used for the circle on top over here, and we're going to set this also 2, so it's both sides just 2, and we're going to set this to 508. This is going to give us this height. You see, this measures the height, but we're going to soon rotate it, so it will be the other side, and we're going to make 32 segments. It's actually quite smooth, and we're going to position it now. Okay, so position would be Y would be 22, and this is pre-calculated. This minus 28. This is actually just if you do something like this, you cannot do that never exact measurements the first time. The designer probably played a few times and then logged the sizes into the final tutorial. And it's actually if I talk about tutorials, if you ever think about creating a tutorial, this is very important that SelfCAD always teaches. They call it empty steps. Designers usually will always play a few times to position something to figure out sizes, unless you follow a technical documentation. But other than that, if you just play visuals, you're always going to have multiple tries until you get it correct. And this is not good to put the tutorial. This is something that we call empty steps. So it would need to be first tested everything and get your final values and enter it. So whoever follows the tutorial has it only once to do it. Okay, so if you can see what we did over here is we rotated and positioned. We have this circle, this cylinder going through from the one side to the other, and we're gonna color it using the same color as the others, and then we're gonna mirror that over to the other side. So we need to make a copy, and we're gonna mirror it to the front side. That's fine, but we want to give it now an offset of 50, so it mirrors across here, and we get the other side done. Now we're going to select everything that we need over here. Let's see what else also it is, and we're simply going to isolate this. Isolate is also an option that is available here or from the view menu, so I'm going to use it from here to isolate. Okay, and now we're going to get the final touches almost done. This is like a really straight flat thing. We're going to add some kind of bending and things like that. So bending works on different planes, gives you different options. This is something you have to test. It's hard to explain actually on what plane you bend it. So whatever works. And we're going to bend it now on this plane using the left-right plane, and we're going to use the Z direction to 60. And this is also symmetrical. I don't need to use gizmos, and this gives us this kind of roundness over here. And now we're going to taper. So if you see now, what we did is, because we mirrored that, both sides had the same height. They're actually the same thing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to uncheck the bottom parts, all of these inner parts, braces, whatever it is, and we're going to taper just the top, also choosing the plane left, right, and we're going to taper Y to minus 32, and that gives us this hump, this type of stuff here, how this looks like. And that's it. We're basically done with the tutorial. Quite easy and nice how this could be done. Okay, thanks for watching, and please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll be happy to hear from you. Okay, thanks for watching again. Bye.